Welcome to Synology Online or synologyonline.com. So if you ever need your NAS service, we are the officially main service center in the United States. Oh, the Americas too. And Pacific Rim region. So I wanted to, by the way, this is today's orders. This is a normal day for me, and it's crazy. Anyways, I'm going to talk about memory. There's such a big problem with memory. A lot of people go out and spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 on a brand new NAS. Yet, why skimp on the memory side of things? They get like, oh, I found 8 gigs for $25, brand new. So, why do that to yourself? Sometimes you end up destroying a NAS, and there's nothing we can do about them. Synology NAS'S actually are a very picky animal. You can some work on S-type RAM for speed, some work at L. Some have different voltages. Most of them are like 1.35 S. Not all. And racks can be 1.35 L. So anyways, if you're going to get memory, what I see a lot is this, like, I don't know if you can see that, like 16 gig ATEC, I don't even know what memory chips they're using in theirs. Okay, this one, well, that one I can't even read. I see these, SK Hynix, those are in there. I see this one, oddly, a lot, the ATEC. So, now, on my table I have an RS-1221, okay? Oh, by the way, let me just get this booted up so I don't have to wait any time for it. I put some lights on it so you can see that it does turn on. I'm hooked up to the power switch, which is actually here. So, anyways, why skimp on memory? Memory is like one of the most critical things. Now, Synology as a company sells their own brand, and actually it's just a rebranded version of, who do you guess? Samsung. All Synology NAS'S come with Samsung memory. I don't know if it's a partnership, but I can tell you one thing I do know for sure with experience is Samsung's run better. What it is what I've discovered is that over time, you have a certain CL rating. That's very critical for Synology. Timing, cache latency is a very critical thing on their motherboards. So, what I've noticed with if you have any type of memory testing tools, you can see this yourself, but some of them have a tendency to float the cache latency over time, where it must be degradation on the RAMs that's occurring, and it affects how they perform. So, and I've seen this actually. So, and what's really strange? Only do we see this big problem mostly on AMD-based units and Intel, like only the Intel 1816 and the 1817 series. I don't see it on any other. 18, like the 15 series, 13 series, 12 series, 11 series, 10 series. By the way, series is the last 2 digits of your model. That's the year that its production releases. So, like 1815 from 2015, 1817 from 2017. So, for some reason, those 2 Intel versions, the 1618 plus 7 and the 1817 plus, very sensitive to the CL rating. Now, why, I don't know why, but pretty much all of the AMD boards have the same issue. Now, in front of you is a board that I have as an example. This board came in with these. I don't know if it shows too well, parts quick. I never heard of Parts Quick before. In fact, I went to look it up and I couldn't even find anything on it. So I don't know what company it is and what they're selling, but they do have SK Hynix in them. So, which is one of those problem ones with CL ratings. Crucial too. I don't know why. I always loved Crucial in PC applications. But for NAS, like a year, sometimes two, the CL rating drops out. I only put Crucials in like the 1815 series or the 1515 because that has a bigger window, a timing window. So now, this particular board, I spent probably a week and a half. I couldn't get it to boot. Even when I put in Synology RAM, it's kind of, I apologize, it's whitewashed a little bit, but this is Synology RAM that's in here. Let me see. It's kind of, it doesn't have the red sticker, but let's see if that one shows up. Like, this is a slower speed version than one I have in here. This one I have, well actually this is a 2133 in here. I don't remember what that is. If you can get Synology RAM, get it. It's, at least you can, they stand behind it. It's Samsung RAM, with brand with their logo on it, but you know, if you're gonna buy a RAM, you know, get the good guys, you know, don't cut back and buy something that's inexpensive. Now, after spending a week and a half in this, even putting my memory in it, I put the coin cell back in, but I had it out earlier to reset the date. That's why on the screen you can see the date shows as Saturday, January 1st, because for the password I gotta put in here. So, speaking of the password, if you've seen my other video on, you know, my Synology's hacked, it's that and SSH you don't want to have exposed, because anybody could log into your NAS because of that date. Apparently the people have figured out how to use the hex coding to get in through the date. It doesn't do it on all NAS'S, but a lot of the older ones you can have problems with that, where SSH on, somebody can log in as root or admin and use the date code format. For example, in this one I'm going to log in as root to this motherboard. So, and since the date is January 1st, the password is 101-0101. Okay, I'm in. So I'm in Synology Nas. So anyways, and by the way, when I'm in a board, I actually do some test commands to every NAS that comes in. One is I want to make sure that the ports are where is it? Not stat. You know, make sure that they're listening on the LAN side. If there's a static IP, it's going to show here, because you don't need to listen for static IPs that are locked in. You can check memory. I think this one has a 4G stick in it, so these are real simple commands to enter in. The most important one I always check is the ifconfig. I want to see that the LAN interfaces have come up, and there's 4 of them. There actually is a 0, 1, 2, 3, and then there's a loopback one. So, and you can even run top to see like what processes are running at on this board, even though there's nothing hooked up to it. Find host is there because that's looking for a LAN connection, and there's none there. So anyways, I've spent a couple of weeks on this one almost, and I put in memory, it didn't work. I took the coin cell out, reset that, it didn't work. The only way I can get the RS-1221 to boot was I actually had to unplug the board from any AC power on a supply. There's actually a supply sitting next to here. Short the green wire. I had to plug it in to force the board to turn on. I had to hold the power button down for 13 seconds. Yes, that's correct. All Synology Nas's have a 13-second power button to override board functionality, as well as if you need an emergency shutdown, 13 seconds on the power button. So after I did that, after I first applied the power with the green wire short, I forced the power button to try to force down the NAS, even though it's not going to come down because the green wire shorted. But I saw the CPU come down and reset. I removed the green wire short and the power. I plugged it back in, and I pushed the power button, and it came alive. Okay. Oddly, it took me a week to figure that out because I was all over this board trying to figure out what's going on. In fact, I have marks all over it of areas I've tested, I've checked. They're here, they're here, they're here, here. Like the CPU power controller is here. A Rytec power controller for the AMD CPU. I checked all those, and I'm like, why am I not getting my signaling? Normally I would just check my PIC chip, all right, which is where your power button comes in on pin 7. And I'll check pin 13 to see if there's an output on it. So, I'm sorry, pin 16. So I went through all that. Everything's working fine. And I'm going to stop this thing from scrolling. So it took a green wire short and a power, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So go figure. Apparently there must be some kind of memory retention. Probably it could be in the EDOM. This does have a couple of BIOSes. There's actually a BIOS on the PIC, because this is a dual PIC, and there's the main BIOS is on the back of the board. But it remembered that it was stuck in a crash mode. I could never get it out of this crash mode. I tried everything, and I finally got it out, and it came down to, and I figured it out, was the memory. So apparently once it gets into a crash mode and memory has moved it way out of spec, it's not that easy to bring one back up sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. And this was one of those sometimes. So if you get one of these, you're going to have to do, and doesn't want to turn on, try the green wire short. First physically look at the board, make sure nothing looks bad. And do the green wire short, hold the power button down for 13 seconds, remove all those, and try to power it on normally with the coin cell out and Samsung memory in there. So it turned out memory was the culprit in this one. So after examining the memory, apparently it just affects components on the board, not just with timing. I've noticed some of the voltages seem to be a little bit off, so maybe the RAM is drawing more current than it normally does, and that's based on the idea of like what is the quality of RAM and how it's been tested in the company that it comes from, so. And a lot of these companies don't put a lot of money into memory testing. So they just say, oh, we get our chips from such and such, their brand name, and of course they don't get their controllers from the same company. But anyways, that's actually the number one thing that is a problem on any memory thing are controllers. EDOM controller problem with US Best or a Phison controller. Same with memory chips. Anything that has memory or has to hold memory or change memory is going to have some type of controller. Except for the BIOS, it's probably the only one that doesn't have that. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. I had a little time today to throw this out there in some of the AMD units that may be out there and experiencing the dead unit. It's a good chance too that those could be memory related, and you're stuck with shorting a green wire. It's not the only one I had to do something like this for. On the 1618 and the 1817, I didn't have to do the green wire short. Those actually turned on. The only problem is they never would boot. So it just turns out memory. You can swap memory. Most of the problems I see with unbootable units that are in the newer models are related to memory, other than surge or lightning or UPS died, backup died. So try that. So if you have a 1618 or 1817, take the memory out and put in the original. Or if you don't have the original anymore, take the memory out and take the one that was in slot 2, put it in slot 1, and just one memory chip only, not both of them. Just take one out of slot 2 and put it in slot 1. It's a good chance your NAS might just boot, if you have to take the coin cell out too. I invented the coin cell trick a couple years ago. Looks like this thing is spreading like crazy across the internet. The capacitor thing on the 1812 and 1813, that's spreading like crazy as usual. But anyways, I wanted you to see, you also get a little peek into some of the things that go on in the background here, so you kind of see how Synology Online works. I'm up usually around 7 in the morning, and I'm not done usually till around 10:30. Just try to relax, watch TV. Of course, I eat dinner. Me and the wife will sit there and chat a bit and stuff. And you'll see her. She'll be here stopping by. But anyways, I wanted to point this out to you. So in summary, when you get memory for your NAS, try to get the best there is. You got one of the best products out there. Get the best memory that's out there. All right. Thank you for stopping by, and we'll be seeing you soon.